Dear you, I'm writing to you from a version of yourself who remembers the quiet confusion and sadness of losing motivation little by little, almost without noticing. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a dramatic collapse or a sudden burnout. It was subtle, like watching the color fade from a painting you once loved. Things you used to care about began feeling distant. Goals that once energized you now felt heavy. Even small tasks seemed overwhelming, not because they were difficult, but because you couldn't feel that spark inside you anymore. I remember how frustrating it was to wake up and feel nothing, no drive, no excitement, no push. You kept telling yourself, I just need to try harder. But the harder you tried to force motivation, the more drained you felt. You didn't understand why the energy that once flowed so naturally seemed to have disappeared. You weren't lazy. You weren't ungrateful. You were simply tired in a way no amount of willpower could fix. You watched people around you pursuing their goals with enthusiasm, and you wondered why you couldn't do the same. You compared your lack of drive to their momentum. You convinced yourself that maybe you were falling behind, or maybe you were losing something essential. And yet, deep down, you longed to want things again. You longed for a spark, even a small one, that could remind you of who you used to be. There were days when you tried to push yourself through routines, hoping the feeling would return. You made lists, you set reminders, you repeated affirmations. You tried to inspire yourself with quotes, videos, music, and anything. But the emptiness didn't disappear. And because you couldn't explain it, you didn't tell anyone. Instead, you smiled when needed, showed up when expected, and kept your quiet exhaustion hidden under layers of effort and self-doubt. I saw how much it hurt you, not just the lack of motivation, but the fear that you might never regain it. I saw the way you tried to pretend everything was normal, even when your heart felt disconnected. I saw the invisible pressure you placed on yourself to stay productive, even when your soul felt depleted. None of this made you weak. It made you human, a human in need of rest, compassion, and understanding, not force. Your past self understands now that losing motivation wasn't a sign that something was wrong with you. It was a sign that you had been pushing yourself for too long without replenishing your inner resources. Motivation doesn't disappear because you're lazy. It disappears because something inside you has been stretched, exhausted, or worn down. It disappears when your emotional needs go unmet. It disappears when your inner world becomes overcrowded with pressure, expectations, or unresolved feelings. You were carrying too much, more than anyone realized, more than you even admitted to yourself. When the heart is tired, the mind slows down. When the mind is overwhelmed, motivation naturally fades. This is not failure. It is the body and soul asking for rest, clarity, and space. Your past self also sees that the goals you once chased were based on who you used to be. When you grow, your desires shift. When you change, your direction evolves. Sometimes, the loss of motivation is not a collapse. It is a signal that the path you are forcing yourself to walk no longer aligns with the person you're becoming. And instead of listening, you kept pushing out of habit, responsibility, or fear of disappointing others. You weren't unmotivated. You were misaligned. You weren't lost. You were transitioning. You weren't empty. You were unfolding. Your past self wishes you had known this sooner. Motivation isn't meant to be constant. It ebbs and flows like tides. It changes as you grow. It rests when you need rest. Your spark didn't leave you. It simply dimmed while waiting for you to slow down enough to notice what you truly need. Sometimes losing motivation is the beginning of finding authenticity. Sometimes it's your soul's way of saying, something needs to change. Sometimes it's how your inner world asks for gentleness instead of grinding. And when you understand that, the loss of motivation becomes less frightening and more enlightening. Now, I'm speaking to the version of you reading this, the you who still feels the lingering heaviness of lost motivation, the you who wonders when your energy will return, the you who fears you may never feel that inner spark again. Take a slow, steady breath. Let it soften your chest. Let it whisper something you need to hear. Your motivation is not gone forever. It is resting. It is resetting. It is preparing to return in a form that aligns with who you're becoming now. You don't need to shame yourself for slowing down. You don't need to fear that you're falling behind. You don't need to push yourself into exhaustion to prove your worth. Your value is not measured by your productivity. Your identity is not defined by your ambition. Your worth does not disappear when your motivation fades. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to take breaks without guilt. You are allowed to rebuild yourself gently and intentionally. Motivation returns when you stop forcing it. Inspiration returns when you open space for it. Energy returns when you honor your needs. Your spark will reignite. Not because you pressured yourself, but because you created the right conditions for it to breathe again. It may come back differently than before. It may lead you in a new direction. It may feel softer, steadier, or more aligned, but it will return. Your future self will look back at this moment not as a collapse, but as a turning point. The moment you shifted from forcing motivation to nurturing it, from pushing yourself to listening to yourself, from chasing old dreams to making space for new ones. Take another gentle breath. Let hope settle quietly inside your chest. Let it remind you, your spark is still within you. Your drive is still alive. Your passion is waiting patiently for you to meet it with softness, not pressure. You will rise again, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to become. Sincerely, you.